things are lined up for us, whatever, in the cosmos, for this to take place now. You have to be prepared to experience real ecstasy. I mean, the ecstasy better than any orgasm or any bar of chocolate or any sunset, because that field, it is unmistakable when you're in that field. That field is pure bliss.
Hello, this is Akhail Matthews, author of Conscious Medicine, interviewing a good friend and colleague of mine, Branton Kenton-Dau. And I would like to say welcome and interview you about your program of bringing consciousness into daily living and into healing and into planetary change.
Well,
Welcome.
thank you, Akhail. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend this time with you. Thank you very much.
You have done some very, what I would consider well-researched and original work into the effects of consciousness in daily living. And you cite some specific examples of a woman being able to regrow her ovaries, your own journey in healing type 1 diabetes, and also in the collective change that happened in America through the meditations that were going on in Fairfield, Iowa. And out of that, you devised a program for people, which you call Troubles Away, I believe. And if you want to describe how that program can invite or help people into developing their consciousness in the ways that can make a positive change both for their physical body, emotional well-being, and also for all of us, the collective human field.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, the Troubles Away program, which is a series of short videos, basically grew out of both my own experience and also just really wanting to understand, what is taking place on Earth at this time and what it means to be human, to be honest. And the lady you mentioned, Jelena Bogdanovich, who was a woman living in Melbourne who regenerated her ovaries just using a visualization process by actually a Russian knowledge worker called Grigory Grabovoi. So I used her as the example of what I believe human beings can become. I think that we are, as human beings, in a period of profound transition. I would say it's like water turning to ice. It's a shift in state. So it's not like just getting better at what we are now. It actually means changing what it means to be human. And Jelena is a really, really great example of the ability of consciousness to affect the material world. Most people still believe that we're made up of matter, we are our bodies. It's just not true. So, and there are thousands, literally thousands, millions of people like Jelena who are demonstrating daily, often when they've had to face a serious illness, to really discover what they really are. And Jelena is such a great story because she just relaxed once, twice a day for 2 months, did her visualizations. And then what was so stunning about Jelena is that when she went back to a doctor and had a scan, she didn't tell the doctor that her ovaries had been removed. And they looked at the scan and said, no, perfectly fine. Then the disbelief kicked in. She couldn't believe the power of consciousness to transform her physical body. And one of the things she writes about, which I talk about in Troubles Away, the book, in Wake Up, the book, is that she realized that belief is key. to the whole thing, because she kind of suspended disbelief and just allowed herself to go on the process and enter that state where consciousness could affect the physical world. And so she basically had two separate scans later after the first one, so three in total, because she just had to, her rational mind had to be convinced that this was actually true. My take, and I had to go through my own journey, as you mentioned, with curing type 1 diabetes myself, because I was sick, but not only sick, but deeply embedded in an illusion about what I thought I was. So embedded, I had absolutely no idea that I was so asleep, so embedded. And in fact, it's the whole events around the COVID era that really, really started me to realize, hold on a minute, practically everything I've believed about myself and the world is absolutely not true. It's all a lie. And it really is that sense that I believe that for the last 3,500 years, we've been living in an upside down world. You know, the word legal, like the legal system that we all live under, means without God. That's what legal, the word legal means. And so that shift, which is a perception shift, a belief shift, is an identity shift, had to take place within myself. And what a glorious journey this is. Um, and I wanted to share that with others. And, like with your book, Conscious Medicine, we're not alone. This is happening everywhere. This is it's like, the rains come and all the plants are growing out of the bare earth. All the seeds are germinated, and you and I believe, are just a couple of those seedlings.
Mhm.
But soon the whole field will be covered, and there'll be no bare soil left, I think.
I agree with you that the beliefs that we've grown up with are all off. All. Um, for me, I need to be a little gentler and not call them lies. I would just say it's like a car. You've got first gear, second gear, third gear. And what we're trying to do now is shift into fourth and fifth gear. And if you just live in first gear or second gear, you don't go anywhere. And it's kind of like helping people open their mind. Hey, there's quite a few more gears available to this than I had known before. From your own experience, maybe you can talk about in a if someone says, "I hear you," and the bells are ringing inside me now. What kind of challenges or what kind of steps will people go through on their way towards um, realizing what's available through this higher mind?
Well, let me put it this way. There are two worlds basically. There's the physical world, everyday experiences that we have, okay? And then there's the world which is the manifest. And then there's the world from which all this comes from, the unmanifest or source, or if you're spiritual, the Godhead. It doesn't matter what you call it. Scientists will call it 0 point field. What we're talking about is that we've been asleep, in my estimation, because we believe that the manifest world, so, you know, this body, this car, these thoughts I have about myself are real. This is it, right? But in fact, none of it. This is all history, because this is what's already been created. So what is really real is the unmanifest, the quantum field. What I believe we're going through is this shift in identity, so that we let go of the fiction that this is what we are, and we reconnect. And this is a direct experience. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is a direct experience of the field, right? The 0 point, I'm going to call it the field, okay? But direct experience of the field, because only that is real. If you're spiritual, you'd say, only God is real. What is real is that source from which everything arises. And I believe that what we're experiencing at this time is the opportunity to make that transition. It's like things are lined up for us, whatever, in the cosmos, for this to take place now. So when I talked, when I mentioned, like, I believe this is a change of state between, like water to ice, right? It's actually a qualitatively different experience of being, right? So, and if you stay in, the identity associated with this body and the beliefs you grew up with and stuff, you've got no hope, no chance, because it's like we are characters in a computer game, right? It's just all programs. There's no reality to it. There's no, because all the creativity comes from the other world. That's the source of everything. That's the source of everything. So coming back to me personally, I guess I'd say two things. The first of all is that you have to be prepared to experience real ecstasy. I mean, the ecstasy better than any orgasm or any bar of chocolate or any sunset, because that field, it is unmistakable when you're in that field. That field is pure bliss. As the Hindus say, I'm existence, consciousness, bliss, right? I tell you, that is it. When you're there, you're there because it feels so good. And all the chocolate and the whatever else you do to make yourself feel good, your coffee in the morning, right? They're just glimpses or surrogates for what is really real, right? Is that so? You have to be really prepared for ecstasy, and I mean that's a tangible experience in your groin, okay, and it's a tangible experience in your heart. So it's just like pure white light of the field, or I sometimes experience as infinite blue as well, like the infinite vastness of the sky, just pouring out of your heart or your heart receiving, but I experience as often pouring out, right? That is your true nature because we are consciousness and that is ecstatic. So I'd say the first thing is I had to let go of all the guilt about feeling ecstasy. Well, it was a work in progress, but that is absolutely key because if you can't allow yourself to feel utter joy, to feel your heart so open, you haven't got a chance because that's the nature of the field. Okay. So that's the first thing. So, and then, so it's not like this is all going to be, sackcloth and ashes kind of stuff. I tell you, it's the opposite. That's part of the lie, right? Because it is the most exquisite experience you can ever have. Now, the second thing, most people probably don't know what Merkaba is, but it's a kind of, you visualize this kind of flying saucer shape, right? And I learned it from John Velo Melchizedek, one of his books, The Secret Flower of Life, Secrets of the Flower of Life, Secret Flower of Life workshops. That's in the Troubles Away program. The last third of the program is all about how to use the Merkaba. And my experience is that Merkaba is the field. So that's the structure of consciousness as it starts manufacturing the manifest world, whatever you want, your boat, your toothbrush, whatever. Create Merkabas mainly for others. So help send healing to people or heal the scaly mites on my chicken's feet. Things that was an act of service. That was the key. And one of the really interesting things, Akhail, is that when I started doing this, I started getting real pain in my neck. So I couldn't do it. It would hurt so much. And that's because the beliefs that keep us in the illusion are held in the body, you know. So as I was starting to connect with the field, or starting to realize my true nature, if you want to put it that way, right? My body had to adapt. So I had to do, exercises and stretches and stuff to try to ease it. So that hurt, and it still does hurt. I mean, I went for a run about 3 days ago, and after the first 20 steps, I thought my heart was going to explode in pain. It's the adjustment process, right? In your terms, it's probably like, you've been driving the car in first gear and you really need to shift to second because it's going, you're going to blow up the engine kind of thing.
Hmm.
So those are two things I want to say is that one is the experience of allowing yourself to feel ecstasy and desire, have the desire to feel that good is key. If you haven't got that, you're not going to get there any other way because that's the nature of where you're going.
I work as a counselor and therapist and da 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 da. Da. And if you're going to feel ecstasy or even really real happiness, it means opening. And
Yeah,
most people know themselves not as an opening, but as a container, as a closed space that gets smaller to challenges. And the ecstatic experience says, I'm open to it.
yeah.
And so it's like learning a different response system to challenges.
Yeah, I entirely agree. And I personally have got a lot of benefit from, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work with the whole and all his affirmations. I mean, I use a lot of them. And, as soon as I say, it's a great day, my vibrational level just goes up there. And so they're really great to keep that expansion there. And I do that continuously to the day. So, I mean, he calls it, managing your emotional state. And I'd say also that is absolutely key because if you think about it, we're all talking about frequency. The whole universe is frequency. So if the true reality, the unmanifest source energy, the field is ecstatic, right? You're going to
Yes.
have to raise your frequency in order to be able to connect in, right? You can't do it if you're down the dumps or feel I'm inadequate or whatever. And he doesn't. So I find Joe Dispenza's work is really great to kind of keep me in that state where I can have better chance of accessing that.
I believe there's a lot of techniques all over. This is
Yeah,
really, really key. And in my mind, as you were speaking of the affirmations and stuff, I said, "Oh, this is like doing yoga or Zen meditation
yeah,
for the mental body or stuff like that. It stretches things that could use some stretching, or opens or remembers things that are important to open and remember. Um, Most of us would say, I'm in. How do I start from being asleep in a reality that seems real to approaching what, in my words, I would say is more true or more real?
we both agree, Akhail, that what matters most is experience. Okay, this is not an intellectual exercise. So for me personally, I made great strides doing the learning the Merkaba. So it takes time, right? And where I'm now compared to where I started, it takes time, but that really, for me, gave me that direct experience. And like Jelena, when she went to have her scans of her ovaries, I did a few programs initially, like keeping the rats out of the attic, which really boosted my confidence because the rats stopped going into the attic. So I also got tangible demonstration. So I would say that's key. I mean, there's a number of things, and I think I'd say this is all non-linear, right? See, if you or I or anyone else thinks, oh, we've got the system and it's all going to work out, it's just not, because the universe is conscious, right? We are aspects of that consciousness. It's going to
Yeah.
do it its way, and it's certainly not going to follow any program that any particular ego sets out. So you'll find your way. But as I said, a lot of people um, come to this when they're seriously ill, right? Something's brought them to a willingness to look beyond their world they've lived in so far, and that was true for me. And so one of the things, which is the second part of the Troubles Way program, is that I think you have to help your body regain its natural resonance, if I can put it that way. So, stop taking the coffees, start eating organic food. I had to eat, I was at three meals of meat a day guy. So I stopped eating meat and I stopped eating cooked food. I went completely raw and seed and nut based. I needed to do that to return so that the natural world could restore the resonance of my body. So that was that physical need, and a lot of people are in worse environments than I am, with whatever. But I felt that that was important. I had to go through that, and I was very sick. Um, but I had to go through that, allowing my body and trusting that it was all going to, the body will heal itself, basically. I really want to know, but I really want to know who I am. I really want to journey to other dimensions. I really want to. So I say to myself during the day, hey, God, I'm all in. All right. I'm all in. I'm absolutely committed to this project. And that doesn't matter what, because I know you have to go for truth. The rest of it, it's just playing. The rest of it's just it's a sideshow. You're just rummaging around in physical reality. You're never going to get anywhere. So I think there's that commitment, and you can describe it as a love of God. You can describe it as a desire for ecstasy. What you want. Okay, let's put it this way. When I think about it, when I'm tempted for, say, chocolate, I'm not a chocolate eater, but I have to say, okay, well, why just feel good when I'm eating chocolate? I want it all. I want I want to feel good looking at the desk. I want to feel good breathing, taking a deep breath. I want it all. Because, do you see what I'm saying? Is that, see, the illusion of the physical world gives us little tidbits. Oh, yes, we'll get the new car and you feel so good. Or have the chocolate, have the coffee, right? Watch a little porn. It doesn't, yeah, you get in a bit of sensation because it's stimulating. It's a stimulant, right? You have to desire it all, go all in. So you take the jump. I'm all in, God, because I want it all. I don't want just a little bit. I don't want just my elbow to feel better. I don't want just to feel better than I am now. I want to know you. So that's the commitment, and maybe it all starts with commitment, because if you don't want that, you're not going to sustain it. You feel a bit better. Actually, my brother said this to me last night. Yeah, he does things to make himself feel better. Then he feels better and he stops doing them because he hasn't got that commitment to go all the way. How far can I go in this physical lifetime to really know who I am, or to be as close to God as I can, whatever language works for you? And I think that commitment for me is key. And it's not willpower, really, because willpower, it sounds like is an ego thing, really. It's more like it's surrender. It's a surrender to the source of all there is. knowing that there's nothing else that you could ever possibly want but the experience of that source. What I would say to people, have the commitment, um, cleanse your body, return to nature with your body so they can, has a chance of resonating at the level of the field, and have the desire, allow yourself to feel ecstasy.
Thank you. That was beautiful, Brent. Really. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
My experience in raising vibration is you kind of have to get to a place where you can't make it with your old system.
No way.
And you have to open to a new system and surrender into that new system. For me, I tell the story of standing knee deep in snow in the Himalaya in a storm and not having any way of knowing where to go next. And just looking up to the sky and saying, whoever brought me here, I can't make it anymore by myself. You got to take me here. And I believe that the crunch of the times that we're in can bring people to that realization that our old system isn't going to cut it. There is a resource system beyond that that is very loving, very kind, and very willing to work with us when we call on it or when we give it a chance.
Yeah, I remember that story from your book. Okay, it was a lovely story of
Thank you.
yours, and I completely agree. And I think that's what this time's about. I think the horrors of our time, or that will have been horrors for thousands of years, but are waking up to increasing horrors, is just the prod, is the invitation to enter this new reality. As I said, there's two worlds. Forget this world, you're never going to sort it out here, but you have to change your state, which is why you called your book Conscious Medicine. It's because it's a change of state. You have to enter, realize that none of this is true. I mean, I walk around during the day and say none of this is real, because it's not. The only thing that's real is the field from which everything arises. And that's where your true identity lies, because you are the consciousness of the field. You're an aspect of that consciousness. As Niels Bohr, the father of quantum physics, said, most people believe matter is the basis of the world. And he said it's not. Matter arises from consciousness, not the other way around. That's Niels Bohr.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're learning. I mean, that, and the great thing about it is it just is so good. You just see once you have a taste. It's like you've discovered a new flavor of ice cream, but it's better because it's everything. It's not just ice cream. You're never gonna go back. You see, so it's not like it's a tough decision for me. It's not a tough decision. So that's why the most important thing is find ways to get yourself have the experience of the field as soon as you can, because then once you tasted that nectar, it doesn't matter, and you're going to have hard times. We all have hard times. There is agony when I'm not in the field. It's absolute torture. I'll think, oh, back in 3D reality, this is a nightmare. And then I say an affirmation like all challenges make me stronger, or something like that, to kind of get me back up. The Merkaba was my way, as you said. There's many ways to do it, but seek the experience of the field, because once you do, that's all the motivation you're ever going to need, basically, because it feels so good.
Thank you, Brenton. That's really, really wonderful. And I hope we can continue this further. Of course, it's a joy to hear you and to receive what you got to offer and to be invited into the big field through your presence.
Okay, this has been a pleasure talking with you, and thank you so much for the invitation to spend this time with you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll leave it here, and until the next time, all the best. Yeah.
Thank you.